All right, guys, Rooster here in Tennessee. Appreciate everybody's business this week. Super busy. Appreciate everybody's patience with those you guys that have ordered stuff from me. Still lots of products going out. Still lots of videos coming up. Taking a pause to look at an amp that was actually sent back to me. Not going to mention the customer's name because he's been a real good customer. Not trying to use this to embarrass him or make him look silly or, say, hey, I'm smarter than you or whatever, because this could happen to anybody. The only way we learn about stuff like this is through experience. And had I had my thinking cap on, I guess you'd say, I probably would have saved him a trip. Probably would have saved him some shipping sending this thing in. But we'll get to that here later in the video, what's going on with the amp or what is not going on with it. He sent me a note with it, obviously here. Acts like it's getting stuck, keyed up, have to key it up to get it to unkey. Now, this customer did send me a video. He had this in a mobile. He did send me a video, and this is the exact radio he was using, by the way. This is a brand new Quad 5, one of my favorite radios. So I'm trying to simulate what he had going on. Now, obviously, different things can happen in mobiles. Mobiles are kind of a different kind of bird of their own. Grounding issues, common mode current issues with antennas and stuff. You just run into all kinds of different stuff that can happen. But he did send me a video, and the amp did seem like it was getting stuck keyed up, and when he turned the amp on, it was putting noise in his radio. Okay, so chances are the amp was trying to oscillate for one reason or another, or trying to stay keyed up. Something was going on with it, making it act funny. It's not the first time I've seen that happen in a mobile. Sometimes stuff will work perfect on a bass. You get it in a mobile, if you don't have everything just right, different stuff can kind of act crazy. So what we're going to do first is, like I said, I'm not doing this to humiliate the customer. It's just kind of a learning experience. I'm going to turn the volume way up on this Anytone, and we've got the RF gain wide open here, which is this knob. This is the RF power knob here. So we've got everything wide open, and let's see. We'll turn the noise blanker off. Now, these things have a fantastically quiet receive. I'll key up with my Cobra 90 to show you it is receiving. So there you go. So what we're going to do to test and see if it is actually picking up static or interference when we turn the amp on, we're just going to go ahead and flip it on. Okay, it was very noticeable in the video he sent me that when he flipped the amplifier on, he was getting a ton of static. You guys can just hear a little click in the receive when I turn it on, but we're not getting that constant static like he was getting. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign that the amp is working the way it's intended to. It's not causing any interference with the receive. Your amp should never cause interference in your receive when you turn it on. It shouldn't knock your receive down. It shouldn't bring your receive up unless it has a preamp. It just shouldn't do any of that. You guys see, everything's working fine as it should there. Now, the getting keyed up thing, something that I thought about is, well, maybe his voltage is so low in his mobile that it's causing him some issues. It was something that ran across my mind, because that can happen. There's a lot of stuff that can cause an amp to get stuck keyed up, but one of those things is, if it's starving for power, if you start starving an amp for power, they'll start acting crazy, and that's something that they can do. So, trying to simulate that, I turn the voltage down the power supply, 13.6. We'll go ahead and turn the amp on. We're on AM right now, and I'm just going to bump the key. You guys can hear that keying up and unkeying. Hello, hello. So the amp is unkeying and keying up just fine. No getting stuck. Again, no static in the receive. Sideband delay, we can make sure that it works as intended. Hello, check, check. Audio, check, check. Audio, check, check. Audio, check, check. Audio, check, check. Audio. So that slight delay, sideband is working the way it's intended. So, everything so far has checked out on the amp. So I thought about it. What could be different that I am doing on the dummy load than he is doing on his antenna and his live situation in the mobile? Well, I asked him, I sent him a text this morning and it said, hey man, I got to thinking, by chance, are you running 3-foot jumpers in your mobile? Guess what? He is. So he answered me and said, yes, I'm running 3-foot jumpers. That is one thing. I'm not one of these people that is going to tell you to hook all your jumpers up to an analyzer and trim them until, you know, until you get everything specific lengths and the analyzer reads a certain, you know, number or whatever. You can do that. If you're really that picky, you can do that, and I don't do that. Not gonna lie, I don't do that. There's a lot of people that do. I don't. I run 6, 9, or 12. That's just me. Depending on how far I need to go with it, I run a 6-foot, a 9-foot, or a 12-foot. Okay? What I will tell you is, do not run a 3-foot jumper. Now, does that mean that a 3-foot jumper is always going to cause problems? No, not necessarily. But there is a high percentage. There's a high probability, I guess I should say, of that happening. When you run a 3-foot jumper, I can't really get into the scientific breakdown of it or why exactly it is, but I have seen this happen time and time and time again. People run 3-foot jumpers, amplifiers stay keyed up. You get the reason that it was probably putting the noise in the receive, you know, obviously the amp was probably trying to partially key up or trying to oscillate, so the radio was picking that up. And that is something I have seen happen with 3-foot jumpers over and over and over and over. So when I asked him, I said, hey man, I'm just going to take a guess. Do you happen to be running 3-foot jumpers, 3 feet jumpers in your mobile? He said, yes, that's the length of coax I'm running. And I said, okay, well, there's a high chance that is exactly what's causing your issue because I can't get it to duplicate here. Okay? If the amp had an issue, it's going to do it right here on the dummy load. Now, that's saying, you know, obviously he needs to have his antenna tuned properly and, you know, a 1.3 SWR or lower. If you have a high SWR, you can run into separate issues, you know, might be partially causing this. But if he has a good SWR, his antenna's tuned, quality coax, the only thing that I can narrow it down to is the 3-foot jumpers, okay? That is my word of advice to everybody. Free advice, don't run 3-feet jumpers. Do not do it. You may get by doing it, may not have any trouble, but just eliminate that possibility of having trouble and go 6 feet or more. That's just my rule of thumb. Now, let's test this guy and see what it does here. I'm just going to go ahead and roll the voltage up. We're just going to double check it before we send it back out to him. Let's go up to 14.6 there. Sideband. I'll go ahead and turn the RF power wide open for sideband. Show you what this guy does. Let's go to peak. Radio check, 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 radio check. 400 PEP. And let's go to AM. And we'll go ahead and back our RF power down. Let's go with like an 80 watt dead key. Radio check, radio check, radio check, audio check, 1, 2, 3, audio check, 1, 2, 3, audio check, 1, 2, 3, audio. About 390 PEP. And again, amp is unkeying, working just fine, working the way it's intended. And that's it. So just a test video, guys. Like I said, maybe this is news to some people. Maybe we can learn something from it. My fault for not pointing this out before he shipped the amp back. I've just been so busy that it didn't even cross my mind that he might be running a 3-foot jumper. So, you know, again, take it for what you will. Maybe you're running 3-foot jumpers and not having any problems, you know. If so, then carry on. But if you do run into a similar problem like this, the amp staying keyed up, it's putting noise in the receive, you feel like the amplifier is oscillating, you know, give it a try. Switch out your jumpers and see what happens. Might be an easy fix for you. Not always the amplifier's fault, guys. You know, a lot of people, as soon as they have trouble, and I'm not saying this about the customer. He wasn't like this. He's real reasonable to deal with. But when we have trouble, a lot of times we automatically assume, oh, there's something wrong with the amp. It's not working. It's staying keyed up. Oh, man, it must be the amp's fault. It's not always the case. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's not. All right, guys, have a good one. Rooster in Tennessee. See you, bye.